everyone, I thought I'll do a bit of a different format for favorites videos. I don't think I did April favorites, and I'm sure I didn't do May favorites. The reason being, April has been quite a busy month work-wise, and then May was just super stressful right from the get-go, and I have taken off work the last couple of weeks of May and recharged my battery, so that's all much better now. But I kind of feel like I have lost my creative mojo, and I used to be so excited about buying new art supplies or colors like watercolors or specific art supply in new colors, things like that. So I feel completely uninspired. I feel like I'm looking at all of my beautiful art supplies and I just don't want to create anything specific. So what I thought I will do to help myself is just allow myself a page in my sketchbook where I just pick out colors that I think speak to me or that I might be attracted to, or colors from the previous limited color palette that I would enjoy, and also make sure to use different art supplies, but not too many, so I don't over stress myself or over confuse myself. But knowing things like, you know, pencils, I love these watercolor pencils, they are my favorites, so I went and I used a couple of colors. Colored pencils, I went for the luminance pencils and watercolors, and then I also used a various other couple of things. Throughout this exercise of really not thinking, just plumping colors together and also layering some different mixed medias over it, I have learned a few combinations that I really enjoy, and I think I might take these into starting sort of create with it. So I thought I'll share it with you because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going through that sort of lack of inspiration. To begin with, I'll just show you a few combos that I really enjoyed. So to do that, I will, I'm just trying to think, it's going to be quite difficult with this page here. Maybe I'll do it on this page then. Start this way. So what I quite liked is basically this Schmincke Viridian watercolor, and I really enjoyed it. Just mix up a nice big puddle here. I find that when it dries, it's harder to re-wet that bit, but if you are kind of mixing it up into a nice puddle, then it's better. Okay, so basically I really liked this look where I'm combining two art supplies, so the watercolor and the Rowney FW, which is acrylic ink in yellow ochre. So I really like the color on its own, it's a beautiful color, but if you charge it into the watercolor, look what happens. It's a really interesting concoction, and in here I had some of the Viridian, and as you can see it mixes in an interesting way. So let's try mixing those two colors together. I assume that acrylic ink is going to be heavier, and so the watercolor is not going to move into it, rather the acrylic ink is going to move into the watercolor. As you can see, we have this beautiful kind of like a sunlight situation. When you mix the two colors together, they're quite pretty and they work beautifully together. As you can see, this is such a beautiful, juicy kind of apple green, but not too extreme, more kind of a natural color. but on paper they won't travel very well. And in fact, you can see the pigment of the Viridian, because it's a granulating one, it's starting to settle inside it. So make sure you kind of mix it beforehand to create different colors if that's what you wanted. So that's that. Another combo I really enjoyed is actually the same color. So the Viridian and this time Ecoline in, I think this is Fuchsia. So this is a really beautiful color on its own as well, super bright, but look what happens if you charge it into here. So here is the color on its own, super vivid. So this is another interesting kind of mix. They mix beautifully into, so you'll see the separation of, or the granulation of the Viridian then happens with the transparency of the Ecoline. It's quite pretty. I could mix in a bit of this color here just to show you. And it also makes this really pretty dusky kind of violet color, with then Viridian starting to separate. And what else did I quite like? I also liked the Ecoline Indigo with 2 pencils. I'll just put that here. So this technique works the best with watercolor pencils. Now my watercolor pencil of the two choices that I made for the colors for this month is green ochre. So green ochre turns into this beautiful color. Sorry you can't see it. I'm just going to try moving. So let's do it again. So it pulls out first and then it turns into beautiful green, and then we have this color. Now I'm going to swatch it out for you and use some water to show you what a stunning color this is if you introduce water to it. You completely melt the pigment like so, and it's just gorgeous. Now let's see what actually happens if we put this color near there and let it flow. So that's a lovely green that we got here in the middle. Another color that I really liked was this color, which is the, I'll try to put it in the information, that's the only pencil that doesn't have the name, but I do like it. It's sort of this more acidic green, and look at the beautiful color we get there. So let's see. So this is a bit dirty now from the indigo, but I'm just going to wet it up and do the same with the indigo up here and just charge it in there lightly. See how it mixes, and again we can just showcase and pull out the color here and do the same. This one has dried already, so let's just put a bit more into here. These sort of exercises, they're really fun because it can help to reignite that passion you have for art supplies and discovering new textures and things like that. And it really is useful sometimes, you know, forcing yourself to create when you don't feel like creating is not really helpful, but doing something like this could actually encourage creativity. without forcing it. It needs to happen naturally, I find. So in terms of the colored pencils, I picked 3 colors. Dark indigo, absolutely love it. It's almost like a black. And then this is hibiscus, is it? Yeah, hibiscus pink, beautiful color. And then we have the pink white. So this trio, not necessarily is it working, well, it could work with some of those colors, but I just picked the colors that kind of spoke to me. I didn't want it to be, again, forced or you know, just naturally kind of what appealed to me in that at that point. Now what I want to show you is the blending of these colors as well. So let's see, let's say we take the dark indigo and introduce the hibiscus pink to it. So those 2 colors, a bit tricky to blend, but you can try. And so in the middle you get this kind of milky, kind of blue type of a color, like a purple. You can do the same with the pink white, and I personally love this combo. So I started here and then go there. So look at that. So this is a really interesting color blend. Let me just clean up these little crumbs. Okay, so now look at this beauty. Isn't it gorgeous? And this, how it dries with all these beautiful kind of spidery effects. So the other thing I really enjoyed was this pen, the Uniposca Gold, and this is the PC1 MR, so it's 0.7 millimeters. And what I like doing it, not going when there is a puddle, but potentially when it's still a little bit wet. So this one has now dried, so we're not going to see it that much. But let's see if I can do it here. Yeah, so here the paper is slightly damp, but it's not fully wet. So what will happen is that the mark that you make, it's going to spread a little bit and it's going to give you a bigger dot than if you go on the completely dry paper. So you can see how tiny the dots could be, and then going on to the damp paper kind of spreads them out a little. So that's another thing I like doing. This is still a little bit too wet, but let's see what happens anyway. So this spreads quite a bit. Just doing little polka dots is super therapeutic because it's a very repetitive kind of thing to do, but also you take your mind off that, again, forceful idea of I need to create. You just create without thinking about it, which is the same thing as you going for a walk. They say you should go for a walk somewhere in the field where there are no footpaths, and you just walk, like you don't think about the following of the path, basically. And that is reminiscent in kind of this sort of mark making and color making and all of that should help us to discover something or ignite some sort of creative process. Now, Rowney in Payne's Grey, I have it on my desk. I didn't use it in that exercise, but since I used the dark indigo, I wanted to reintroduce this color because it is a beautiful one. And I want to add that, let's see, that pink in here. So it looks completely black at first, but it's a gorgeous color. And I'm just going to swatch it out like so. And while it's wet, I want to see what happens if I'm just going to add a bit of pink here and there. How that's going to mingle with the Ecoline. Oh, that mixes quite interestingly. So I quite like how it moves, how the Payne's grey moves into there. So if I try actually doing this here on this spot, like so, and then touch the Payne's grey. Right near it, let's see what happens. I'm going to pull the color back slightly by making a larger swatch. Yeah, so that's quite interesting here. Let's see what happens if we just dab the color into it. And the best thing to do is just to allow it to dry completely, just to go back and look at all of these colors. Like here, you know, we couldn't see this beautiful separation of the pigment when they were wet. So let's give it a little break, and once it's dry, we're going to look at it again. Okay, so colors are, or the art supplies are mostly dry, so I'll just bring it up to you just to show you how gorgeous some of them work together. And you wouldn't know this until you try it. So I really like the idea of combining watercolors with other art supplies, and I have a course about it as well, where I play in this similar way of exploring things and create some interesting effects. So this is the two colors here from the color pencils, or the watercolor pencils rather. And the good thing about this Uni Posca is that you can layer it over any surface pretty much, and even over these beautiful pencils, especially if it's as dark color as this. I mean, it just works so pretty. I love the polka dot effect over them, and that's something I haven't actually tried before, which I don't know why, but there you go. Those experimenting times are great for discoveries, and I will definitely start incorporating my Uni Posca over the luminance, or in fact any other colored pencil. And again, Uni Posca over the Payne's grey acrylic ink. Of course, like I said, the darker the color, the more it comes through, but you can find other colors that aren't as dark and it still looks quite pretty. Just that you can see this here, and here I would have to tilt it for you to see it a bit more evident. So all the darker areas. Here you can see when it was still quite wet, it just sort of bled out a bit and spread out, which is also quite a cute effect. But if you want the dots to stay where they are, you need to go over either dry mediums or when they have completely kind of had their time to settle. So that's it for today. I hope this video is not too long, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.